So last night I got home from work at like 1 a.m. and I had planned on watching mid 90s. I didn't realize I was going to get home so late, but I went ahead and just stuck it out. I stayed up till about 3 a.m. and watched mid 90s. Now it's not that long of a movie. It's about an hour and 25-minute runtime. Pretty short for modern day movie standards, but it worked really well. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's Jonah Hill's directorial debut, and I've always loved everything Jonah Hill's done, acting-wise, whether it be dramatic or comedy or whatever. I think he's fantastic. He's around my age. I just kind of relate to him. I used to be a fat kid. Like, there's a lot of similarities between me and Jonah Hill for the reasons why I like him so much. He made this movie, and a lot of people would probably call it a period piece. I mean, it's called mid-90s, but it's not really about the 90s. The background is the 90s. This movie is about finding your first real group of friends. Like, being at that weird age, like hitting puberty and kind of like experimenting with life and figuring out not really who you are yet, but beginning to try new things and stuff. And it's a very vulgar movie, and it needs to be, because that was growing up in the mid 90s, being, between the ages of 11 and 17. I think this movie captured perfectly what it was like growing up then. Not just what it was like growing up then, but what that age range is like. Now, this movie might not resonate as much with, say, millennials or Gen Zers, people who were born in the 90s, but if you grew up in the 90s, if the 90s was a big part of your childhood, then you'll definitely get all the references in the background, all the music in the movie, the clothes the kids are wearing. It was perfect. Now, I wasn't a skater, and you don't need to be a skater. This movie is about these kids who skate, but it's more about finding the thing, whatever the thing is, you know what I mean? It's not even about the skating so much, it's about the friendships. And I just think it captured it perfectly, man. I think that, like, that was me and my friends at that age. Like, fucking potty mouth, just vulgar, ridiculous, risk-taking, just doing dumb shit, man. And these kids, they do some dumb shit, and some of them get hurt. And, like, Jonah picked this because that was his thing, like, skating and hip-hop music, like, and that's why he made the film have all of those aspects in the background. But it goes across whatever group you were in back then. Like, it basically captures the alternative era of the 90s. Like, if you were one of the alternative kids, one of the more outcasts, maybe you weren't super popular, like, this is the kind of groups that you fell into. And I think it did so good, man, at capturing some of this kid's firsts. Like, I think the cinematography was perfect. Like, the camera work was done in a way that made it feel like you were in the moment with this kid experiencing these things. He goes to his first party. He gets drunk for the first time, smokes weed for the first time, messes around with a girl for the first time. And when these things were happening in the movie, it took me back to when these things really happened in my life. Like, that's how well it was filmed, how well it was put on camera. And props to these kids, because these kids, none of the kids in this movie were actors before. They weren't actors. Jonah Hill picked real kids to make this movie, and they acted phenomenally. Did a fantastic job. It's not one of those stories. It's kind of like an indie film. It's not one of those stories where something big happens. There's some big problem to overcome or something like that. It's just capturing a moment in this kid's life, a few months of this, like, transition to, like, not really having any friends or any specific thing that you'd like to do, to kind of finding that group of friends and finding that group to fall into. And I can't say enough about it, man. Like, especially if you were a kid in the mid 90s, especially if you were, from 11 to 17 in the mid 90s, you're going to probably enjoy this movie just because of the nostalgia. And it's not a nostalgia piece. It's not something that's just like, oh, remember this? Oh, remember this? Oh, remember it. It's not just trying to use your nostalgia against you. it's about the emotions this kid has and feeling like he doesn't really belong, but finding this group of friends. And they're all kind of outcasts, and they treat each other like assholes, and it's real as fuck, man. Like, Jonah captured this like it really was, and I think that's because he literally lived it, and I lived it as well, so I can speak to the fact that that's how it really was. Anyway, mid-90s, fantastic film. There are some moments in it where it's like, what decision this kid's going to make? And you're afraid. But that's how it was when you were a kid. Like, you made these rash decisions sometimes. And now, as an adult looking back, it's like, oh shit, that might not be a good decision there, kid. Like, don't fucking do that. But it's like, they put you in the mindset of that kid, like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, my friends are watching me. I'm not going to look like a punk. And that's just how it was. As shitty as that is, that's how kids' minds work. And that's how my mind worked when I was a kid. And they make some really poor decisions. But that's part of growing up and part of living life and learning and becoming who you are. So I just thought it was fantastic at capturing all that, especially for that era, especially for that age range. But not only people my age will enjoy this movie, I don't think. I think parents of kids my age might enjoy this movie because it kind of shows the secret life of the kid that you raised in that era. I think my parents and other kids my age parents could enjoy watching this now. Not at the time. If you would have showed them a movie like that at the time, it would have scared the shit out of them. You watch it now, hey, if your kid survived, they might be able to look at that and be like, damn, that's what my kid was doing. That's how my kid was growing up. Anyway, I can't say enough about it. Especially if you're my age, go watch this movie. But if you're not, I think you could find some value in it as well. So go watch it. Mid-90s, fantastic film. Jonah Hill, bra fucking vo, sir. Great, beautiful fucking debut in filmmaking. He wrote and directed this, and it turned out phenomenally, in my opinion. All right, if you enjoy videos like this where I talk about movies I like, TV series, comic books, nerd shit, pop culture, if you enjoy that sort of stuff, subscribe for more because that's what I do here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.